I'm on a personal media diet. Not only, the flyover October, but the other.
Hello, my name is Joe Lindsley in Lviv, Ukraine. Ever since the day I escaped Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation in a crazy Hudson Valley car chase, I have been on a mission to reimagine journalism in a way that gives people value rather than steals their attention. Most of our media now makes money by stealing one of our most sacred assets, our attention. And so in this time of the pandemic, collaborating with inspiring Ukrainian journalists and others around the world, I have been on a mission to reimagine journalism in a way that is better for our democracies and for our own lives. One of those key collaborators has been James David Dickson. He's a crime and justice reporter with the Detroit News in Detroit, Michigan, and I believe he's also one of the most cogent thinkers about the future of media and how we can better communicate with each other. I've been following James's posts on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and said we need to do a podcast every week so that we can figure out not only how can we better discipline ourselves as readers and figure out what kind of information we should be consuming, but also the bigger question, how can we structure profitable media that is useful, that is good for our democracies, and good for our lives. And so we begin this weekly 10-minute podcast looking at this idea. You should consume 10% of the news you read, and 90% of that should be local. And with that, here is our conversation.
Subscribing to the push alerts. Really one of the worst things you could ever do. What you need to be doing is deciding, what do I want from the news and when do I want those things? Your relationship, most people's relationship with the news should be more on a basis of, hey, if someone sends me a good yarn, I'll read it. I'll make sure to read what's in the local papers that day. But what you do too often is you're reading stories that are not connected to your interests or where you live. So I'm actually in the midst of, it's smack dab in the middle of the month right now. I call it Flyover October. So in Flyover October, I'm only reading stories from the American heartland. So nothing from east of Pittsburgh or west of Denver. No LA, no San Francisco, no New York, no DC. I say that partially in jest because we'll follow the stories wherever they go. But we do this because, you get to those big markets and this. You get to New York, you get to DC, you don't think you're writing news the way I believe I'm writing news. I'm trying to tell the people of Detroit what's going on in their hometown. Here's the character and the happenings and the doings of the people who are going to be on the ballot. On the coasts, they believe they're writing narratives. They believe they're shaping the way people think and the way people should think. And so unless those values are in alignment, see, what I write in Detroit, it doesn't matter what my values are because that's not why I'm there. But you cannot read these coastal journalists without consuming their values along with it. And so I'm out. Only local news for me.
Have you looked at Politico's local effort called part of Politico's Axios program, where they have local journalism in maybe 12 cities around America now? Have you looked at any of this?
I've seen it. I saw that they had a bureau in Nashville and
have you read it? Because
Tampa Bay.
It reads like Washington journalists who have parachuted into these. It's not like when I read your journalism, it's Detroit journalism. When I read Axios, and every day I look at their, just to be a critic, I look at their Minneapolis St. Paul newsletter, and it's the attitudes of a Washington journalist, and so their interests are about the congressional stuff and social policy, and not the things that actually come from the neighborhoods.
Well, that's exactly it. And I don't blame Axios for that because I think it's in the nature of the beast. And that's the other thing. We have to have a very acute and a very accurate sense of what people are capable of. You look at, a dog. They're capable of certain things. Certain things are in their nature. You're not going to sit and enjoy a laugh with your dog, though. It's just beyond their capabilities. So we can't ask Axios to be other than what it's meant to be. That's what it's trying to be. And that's actually what I find so interesting about local journalism, is that when you're covering city councils and county commissions, it's effectively nonpartisan. It's when you get to the state level and you're not spending time with your local people, you're spending time in the capital of the state, and you're not spending time with your family and, the people who know you and keep you grounded. You're spending time with lobbyists who are very complimentary of you, and maybe they've been in that capital longer than you have. So you lose your moorings. Now you're talking about all these national things and whether Trump won the election and abortion and the latest Supreme Court issue, when none of the people who gave you your power ever talk about that stuff.
As a reader, or do we not even have a good system where we can access this local news that we need?
It has to be up to us because it is our choice in everything we consume. If I go to McDonald's every day, they'll sell me cheeseburgers every day. It's not them doing anything wrong. It's my tastes that need to change. And so, for instance, we talk about media diet. I'm on a personal media diet. Not only, the flyover October, but the other thing that I find, that I found really troubling these last 2 weeks is these NFL leaked emails. So in 2 weeks, we've had
Jon Gruden.
About Jon Gruden and his remarks. We've seen Adam Schefter and his complete lack of journalistic integrity. But the problem is the NFL was investigating the Washington Redskins. They have decades of emails. They could drip these things out and end anybody's career they want at any time. And so I've decided, as a matter of personal ethics, I don't read stories about leaked emails anymore. So the way I look at it is this goes one of three ways. One, you leak everything at once. And that is fair in a way. It's sporting in a way. I kind of view it like truth and reconciliation. And the problem with this whole thing, regardless of what's in those emails, your name may be in there, my name may be in there. Problem is, we haven't learned anything new, because what we knew is that these people are assholes because we're all assholes, because we're all imperfect. And what you find in those emails is humans being human. Yeah. And I think digging through the bones of that is really wrong, especially when it's being held in abeyance in this way, so as to be released for maximum effect. Mm-hmm. They're doing this in a way that maximizes power, and I refuse to be party to that game. So either everything's released at once, and we learn what I just said, which is that people are people, and we can just move past that, or we make the decision as consumers that we're not going to be party to this. We're not going to read these stories. We're not going to let the tactic work. Option 3, we don't have self-control. We read whatever's been placed in front of us. We read every hit job. We try to fill the hole in our soul with these people's stories. We try to pretend that we're better than them, that we're somehow less sinning, less fallen than they are. And it works. And anytime they want to end someone's career, they show them doing something that all of us do. And in our pretense, we'll say that person should never be heard from again.
And well, maybe this is why we need to have many more of these conversations, James, because maybe in time, as we talk about this, we can figure out these strategies of self-discipline that we need as we, when I want to procrastinate, I type in Drudge Report and, you just follow,
That's exactly it.
We need to realize the effect that we are letting these things steal our sacred attention, our sacred time, things we could use for anything else. And we got to be got to defend it somehow. And it's going to take a lot of sort of discipline and strategies. And so maybe now, because our 10 minutes is up, but I think we close with your wisdom right there. And maybe next time I want to keep talking about how we can create better habits of what we read, what we allow into our minds, and to sort of resist the temptation to, and that's the thing. These stories are salacious, and that was what I loved about newspapers in a way, is that you could make a headline to capture attention.
Yes.
But now it's quite out of control, I think. And
we are the product that's being sold. And the only way this ride ends is if we get off.
Okay, well let's keep talking how. And let's talk about how. And this is a great beginning. James, my friend, thank you so much.
Hey Joe, Nastro V, and hey, so good seeing you, man.